Hello, my dear students. This is your English literature session, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Myself, Khilesh Kumar, Assistant Professor in English, and today we will take a very fantastic poem, My Last Duchess, by Robert Browning. So, first of all, let's take a brief view. Introduction to the poet Robert Browning. As you can see at the screen that Robert Browning was born in 1812 and died in 1889. It means this period belonged to Victorian age. In this period, in England, Queen Victoria reigned. So, Robert Browning was an English poet, playwright. If we talk about the life of Robert Browning, so he eloped with Elizabeth Barrett. Elizabeth Barrett is also a poetess, and he eloped with Elizabeth Barrett, and they got married. One of the foremost Victorian poets. So, in Victorian age, Robert Browning was one of the foremost eminent popular poets, master of dramatic monologue. So when we talk about Robert Browning, we always have a term in our minds, dramatic monologue. And Robert Browning was the master of the dramatic monologue. And the poem we are going to read, My Last Duchess, is also a dramatic monologue. He was bold and unconventional. He was bold writer. He always against conventional theory. So he was unconventional in his matter and writing style. His major works, The Last Ride Together, Under the Chateau, Rabbi Ben Ezra, A Grammarian Funeral, Orphea's Lover, My Last Duchess, etc. So these are a few creations created by Robert Browning. Next, Robert Browning is regarded as the poet of love. He was a poet of love. He wrote so many love poetries. Robert Browning's love poetry is the finest in the world, and the love poetries composed by Robert Browning are regarded as the finest creation in the world. And he is also regarded as the poet of hope. It means Robert Browning uses optimism in his poetry. Next. So now, first of all, I would like to mention about dramatic monologue. What do you mean by dramatic monologue? A dramatic monologue, no doubt, is in form of a poetry, the poem, and in that poem we have a person, or we can say we have a character who is a speaker, and the person speaks all the poem. Sorry, whole poem. The person speaks whole poem. So a person who is a speaker, and the person is not identified with the poet. There is no identification with the poet. We can say the speaker is a character in that poetry created by the poet, but there is no link and liaison and any relation to that character. The speaker addresses the poem to someone. So in dramatic monologue we have a person who is a speaker who speaks whole poem, and the speaker addresses the poem to someone. There is a listener, and there is a listener also who does not intervene at the level of speech, but who doesn't speak. So speaker and listener, the speaker speaks whole poem, but the listener doesn't make any kind of intervene. The listener doesn't speak. So this is the definition of dramatic monologue. Next. Now let's start the poem My Last Duchess, composed by a very famous poet, a very famous Victorian poet, Robert Browning. The poem was first published in the volume Dramatic Lyrics in 1842. So now, in 1842, a very famous and fantastic volume named Dramatic Lyrics, volume collection of poems. So the volume Dramatic Lyrics, which had so many poetries, published in 1842, and My Last Duchess was first published in the volume Dramatic Lyrics. So my dear students, always remember that in which volume My Last Duchess published. So Dramatic Lyrics in 1842. This is very important for the examination point of view. So Dramatic Lyrics in 1842. Okay, next, the poem is in the form of dramatic monologue. The poem is in the form of dramatic monologue. It means this is a dramatic monologue, and We have just studied that in dramatic monologue, we have a speaker and we have a listener. So, in this dramatic monologue, or we can say in this poem, My Last Duchess, we have a speaker. And the speaker, who is the speaker? The speaker, the Duke. The Duke, the King, who has recently died. His wife has recently been killed. And in dramatic monologue, we have a listener. Listener is the envoy, or we can say messenger, who has come with a proposal, with a marriage proposal, with a second marriage proposal for the Duke. So, in the poem, we will see that whole poem will be narrated by the speaker, the Duke. It is regarded one of the best dramatic monologues of Robert Browning. Robert Browning wrote so many dramatic monologues in his life, but My Last Duchess is regarded one of the best dramatic monologues of in the English literature. The poet presents the perfect example of possessiveness on a duchess. The duchess who has been killed, who is no more. So, in this poem, we see the possessiveness of the Duke on his wife, Duchess. So, the poem presents the perfect example of possessiveness on a duchess by her husband, the Duke of Herrera. So, the Duke of Herrera. The speaker is the Duke. The speaker is the Duke who has murdered his previous wife. And the listener is the messenger who has come with the proposal for Duke's second marriage. So, in the poem we see the speaker is the Duke of Herrera and the listener is a messenger who has come with a marriage proposal, second marriage proposal, because the previous wife of the Duke has been murdered by the Duke himself because of his extreme possessiveness. So, I think this is the starting of the poem, and you really have got it. So, this is your part first, and the remaining poem we will study in our part second. So, don't forget, don't miss the second part of the poem so that you can get the whole poem, My Last Duchess, composed by Robert Browning. So, my dear students, thank you so much.